Hey, what is going on, folks? Matt here, and I have owned my Tesla Model 3 for almost a month. Actually, tomorrow on the 18th, it will be exactly a month that I've owned the car, and I have loved it. Every single part of the car I've absolutely loved. But there have been a few things that I've had to get used to, and I expected that getting a car such as the Tesla, I came from a Honda Accord, so getting a car such as a Tesla was going to require a little bit of a learning curve for a few things. So in this video, we're going to be covering 3 of those things, as well as some bonus stuff at the end. So hopefully you guys stick around for that. But yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so first off, if you guys are enjoying these Tesla videos, be sure to hit the subscribe button, leave a comment down below, and like the video if you enjoyed it as well. It really does help the channel out, helps those YouTube algorithms. And also feel free to follow me on Twitter or on TikTok. I do some Tesla TikToks as well. It's all at MattyTesla, so feel free to do that if you'd like to. So the first thing I had to get used to is the regenerative braking, which is probably something you guys guessed I would say. And if you guys don't know what regenerative braking is, essentially for electric cars, I believe all electric cars, I could be wrong, but I know for Teslas for sure, they have regenerative braking. So when the car is moving and you're putting your foot on the acceleration pedal, it's creating kinetic energy. And what you can do is take your foot off the acceleration pedal, and the kinetic energy that was produced, some of it, it'll actually go back into the battery. So there have been a lot of cases where people are, visiting someone or going somewhere up on a mountain, and as they leave and they're going downhill a lot, it actually will charge their battery a little bit, which is really, really awesome that Tesla allows you to do this. But the big thing, that's not the thing I really had to get used to. I understand that concept. But the big thing is just taking your foot off the acceleration pedal and the car comes to a complete stop. Normally, with a gas car, your car won't actually come to a complete stop. It'll actually keep moving and keep creeping. So what you have to get used to is just taking your foot off the acceleration pedal, and you'll feel that the car starts braking and it will slowly come to a stop. And that's just something I had to get used to, especially when it comes to traffic lights. So when there's a red traffic light and you're just kind of sitting there, you don't actually need to leave your foot on the brake or anything. You can just sit there and the car will be in hold mode. Now, this is something you can change in the settings. Tesla recommends that you don't change it because it's just better for the battery. You're going to be more efficient if you're using the regenerative braking. But if you're really used to a gas car and you don't want to actually switch to regenerative braking, there are settings that you can change that will allow it to creep or roll when your foot is off the accelerator. So that's something I really had to get used to, just not using the brakes so much. It really is crazy. Like, there's been so many times where I've gone up to a stop sign or something like that and my car is just fully stopped, and I'll tell people in the car, I'll be like, oh, I didn't just use my brake there, by the way. And they'll be like, wow, that's crazy. So that opens up an opportunity to just kind of talk about the regenerative braking. It's almost like it's advertising itself when you're using it, which is really crazy. And so yeah, that's really a big thing I had to get used to, is just the overall regenerative braking of the car. Now a month in, I will say I'm pretty comfortable using it, but there are still certain circumstances where I'm like, whoa, okay, I really need to keep practicing with this to really perfect my technique with regenerative braking. All right, so the second thing is kind of on the flip side of regenerative braking, and it's about the acceleration of the car. So I don't even have the performance model, but the acceleration of electric vehicles, and Teslas in particular, is really astounding. Like, just putting your foot down on the accelerator, you're gonna feel that zoom. It almost feels like a roller coaster. If you guys have been on a roller coaster, I guess it's kinetic energy or inertia or something that's created. I'm not a physics major or anything by any means, but yeah, there's just that feeling of getting pushed back into your seat when you step on that accelerator. And the crazy part about it as well is that, there's instant feedback when it comes to the Tesla accelerators. There's no delay whatsoever when you put your foot on the accelerator. So putting your foot down, even if you're just going from 0 to 30 miles an hour, you can really feel that acceleration. It's really awesome, but it's also something you have to be super mindful of, because there's been a few times where I have been going over the speed limit without realizing I'm going over the speed limit. So I'm still getting used to that. And obviously it's really great to have fantastic acceleration, especially when you're merging into traffic or certain situations where you just need to get out of the way, things like that. Is awesome. The Tesla is fantastic for that, but it's definitely been something I've had to get used to and just remind myself of, like, oh, I could be speeding right now. Like, I need to keep checking to make sure I'm not speeding. Obviously, I can put cruise control on, but in those situations where cruise control just isn't, the correct option to use, it can definitely be a little, not scary, but it can be a little worrisome if you're speeding so often and you just don't realize it. So yeah, the acceleration is just, it's fantastic, but definitely something you have to get used to. So the third big thing I've had to get used to is Autopilot. And you guys might have guessed that I was going to say that. Autopilot is obviously a huge, marketing pillar for Tesla. A lot of people understand, Tesla and Autopilot are kind of like hand in hand, right? So when it comes to actually using Autopilot, I don't even have the full self-driving. I have just the standard Autopilot. It's basically auto steer for the highways. So it won't actually change lanes, but it will turn and just stay in my lane on the highway, which is great for really long trips. It really reduces driver fatigue, things like that. But it's weird getting used to. It definitely is, because you're letting the car control itself. Now, obviously, you need to keep paying attention, stay aware of your surroundings. There's been a few times where I had to take over with Autopilot, probably because I was using Autopilot in a situation I shouldn't have been, but I just was addicted to using Autopilot, and I just wanted to test the boundaries. That's basically what Tesla owners are. They're essentially beta testers for Tesla's Autopilot. But yeah, that's definitely something I had to get used to. And it's not just as a driver you have to get used to it, but people in your car as well. Like, I always try to make it clear to people in the car that I'm like, okay, I'm putting Autopilot on, because they might not be familiar with the way the UI in the Tesla works. They might not be familiar with that little blue icon that appears up, and that means that Autopilot is active. So what I'll say is just be like, I'm going to put Autopilot on, so that if in case Autopilot does anything crazy, like for whatever reason, phantom braking or anything like that. Luckily, I haven't really had phantom braking happen, but God forbid anything like that happened, at least the people in the car will be a little bit aware that that could potentially happen, because the car is driving itself. So anyway, that's been a huge thing I've had to get used to. Still working on getting used to it. I haven't really taken a super long road trip yet, which I really want to do, and I'll definitely film that for you guys. So be sure to hit the subscribe button if you want to stay up to date with any future road trips that I do. But yeah, that's just something I've had to get used to. I'm excited to use it on road trips, but it's definitely weird having the car turn itself, and it's just weird, guys. Like, it's awesome, but it can really mess with your head a little bit. So yeah, that's definitely the big third thing that I've had to get used to when owning a Tesla. Now, a bonus thing that I've had to get used to, and this might seem self-centered, but I can guarantee other Tesla owners have also dealt with this, is you get a lot of people staring at you when you own a Tesla. Now, like I said before, I owned a Honda Accord. It was a 2012 Honda Accord before I owned this Tesla. And obviously, like, I didn't have anyone staring at me, right? Because it's just like a standard car. But when you own a Tesla, you get people that are just staring at you. I've been sitting in parking lots before filming videos where people are just staring at me, and it's just weird. It's just weird. I understand it. It's cool, that happens. Like I said, I understand that it happens, but until you actually own a Tesla and you get people staring at you, you don't really fully understand it, or fully experience it, obviously, until you actually own a Tesla. So that's been one thing, is people stare, and they also ask a lot of questions, which I'm happy to answer. Obviously, I love talking about my car. But yeah, you get some people staring, even at traffic lights, things like that. So, there's nothing you can really do about it, but it's just something I've noticed that happens just having the car for 1 month so far. Two other things that, if you're not a current Tesla owner, you might think you'd have to get used to are charging at home and just software updates for the car. So for me personally, those two things really haven't been that odd getting used to. When it comes to software updates, I just think of my car as a phone, right? So I'm getting security updates, things like that, feature updates, all that kind of stuff. Like, it's great that I'm getting those, but it isn't really something I've had to get used to, just because there's so many devices nowadays that get so many updates, that adding one more, even though it is a car, and obviously that's crazy that cars can get updates. It's awesome, don't get me wrong, but it's not really something I've had to get used to, just because I'm used to it with other products that I have. Now, charging at home, you might think also could be something you really have to get used to, but honestly, charging at home actually makes you think less about the state of charge for your car. So when you have a gas car, you might be thinking, oh, I have to go get gas next time I drive the car, you know, all those kind of things. You don't worry about that when you own a Tesla and you can charge it at home. You know, I come home, I plug in the car. Even if I've only used 3 miles of charge, I still plug it in because that's what's recommended to do. And yeah, you just wake up the next morning and the car is fully charged. So that's it. You don't really think about charging the car unless you're going on a road trip. Obviously, you should plan out your supercharging stations. Obviously, you know, the car will do that for you, but that's the only time where you really need to think ahead. Like when you're charging at home, you don't really think about it that much. You just pull into the garage or wherever it is, plug in the car, and you go inside and just, that's it. You know, you don't need to keep checking the app to make sure it's charging, things like that. Like it's just really easy and it's super seamless. So that's something that I thought I would really have to get used to, but honestly, it just is, it's like second nature. Like you don't even think about it. You know, you go out to use your car, it's fully charged already, which is a really fantastic thing. It's awesome. I don't have to go to gas stations anymore. I can literally fill up my car at home, which is crazy, but it's not really been something I've had to get used to. So anyway, guys, that is everything that I've really had to get used to when it comes to owning a Tesla Model 3. If you guys have anything else, if you're a current Tesla Model 3 owner or any other Tesla model owner, and you've had to get used to other things, feel free to leave them down in the comment section below. I'd love to hear about your experiences. And if you don't own a Tesla, but you want to, there's a referral link down below. And if you use that link, we'll both get 1,000 free supercharger miles. So feel free to use that if you want to. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. I hope you guys, you know, stay tuned for future videos by subscribing. That's going to wrap up the video. So thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.